education, public safety, healthcare, government, business. These and other important issues affecting our local community are identified and discussed with local and civic leaders here on Community Impact. Now with today's guest, here's our host, Jay Trelease.
Welcome to Community Impact. We have a fascinating guest today who wrote a book that I think you will be quite interested in. It's called No Child Held Back, sort of a play on words. His name is Yovel Badash, and he is here today to talk about this book and talk about something he's extremely passionate about. Yovel, it's great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. You have a very interesting background. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. But first, No Child Held Back. No child left behind, no child held back.
Right.
Explain.
It's a little bit of play on words, but really it has a seismic change in what we actually mean when we say no child held back. The purpose of our education system, whether it's the name of the law or not, is a factory. It's really no child left behind. If I say, hey, you know what, don't leave anyone behind, you're automatically thinking behind, it's a relative term to a group. I'm thinking of a group. When we change our mindset to be no child held back, our focus becomes individual. And what I'm arguing in the book is that we need to change our mentality from a factory approach of give me a group of kids based on their age group and I'll push them through a production line of a content or like some sort of a curriculum, to be more individualized, to be more personalized, to be more about the kid. If you are a parent, you have more than one kid, you know that kids are not the same. They have different passions, different skills, different genius. And in my opinion, the purpose of our education system is to identify and develop that genius rather than make everyone look the same.
Yeah. And really, and at the same time, what you're saying is it's kind of a win-win situation, because with the No Child Left Behind, it's also an extremely expensive proposition, isn't it?
Yep. When you're thinking about No Child Left Behind, there's billions of dollars are spent to measuring, because you need to not leave anyone behind. So you put standardized tests to see who is behind and who is advanced. You put teacher evaluation frameworks in place to make sure that you have control. So when you're thinking about that mentality, what happens is that you spend a lot of money on the system rather than on instruction and on the kids.
Right. Describe how that mentality, as you say, works in the real world when a school district or a state does not live up to the No Child Left Behind. What happens at that point?
So based on the law, which a lot of states already got waivers from, based on the law, we should have been right now at 100% proficiency. Unfortunately, we know that we're very far from that. I think in some cases, in Rochester, New York, we have 5%. 5% of the kids met the standards. 95% of the kids are below grade level. So that means 1 out of 20 kids is meeting the standard. Doesn't mean that they're, doing really well. They just hit the minimum requirements. The reality in the schools is that they're burdened with all these mandates, with tests and teacher evaluations and curriculum and all this. So they have no time or ability to innovate. They don't have no ability to focus on the kids and what their needs are. So what happens is, if you're a 5th grade teacher and you get a kid that is below, grade level in reading, you have very little you can do to catch them up. Because you're mandated to not leave anyone behind. And if that person is too much behind, you want to cut them out or kind of push them away because they're making you look bad. And what's happening with budgeting and with the No Child Left Behind law is that schools had actual fine, like they would cut their budgets, and this is why we saw in Georgia fraud. Teachers and principals committed fraud. They changed the grades to make sure that they will keep getting funding. And the whole system is mad.
Yeah. And the whole system comes from the top down,
right.
Basically. Yeah.
The school system is based on fear, and it's a pyramid. So you always look above you, and you're worried about, you need to comply with what they're telling you. And I believe that we need to change that. We need to flip it on its head and give the power to the teachers, to the parents, focus on the student. And I think everything else will fall into place when we do that.
And it would probably be a lot less expensive in educating our children, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we can, and we see that, it's not my opinion, we see that a lot of schools that are focused on, let's say, project-based learning, that are using new ways of interacting with kids, are operating below budget. In some cases, some of our schools, there's the New American Academy in Brooklyn, that it's a public school. They were operating at 15% lower than budget and providing much higher quality instruction, much higher quality experience for their kids.
Yeah. Now you come to this whole subject from an unusual background, not necessarily the background of an educator, but the background of a man of technology, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
I'm a technology graduate, computer science and management. I've built the company Namaya in this space in education. I thought, hey, technology can fix a lot of the problems. And as we started getting into education, learning more about how teachers are being trained, how kids are having access to content or being measured, I realized that all the problems we see are symptoms to a disease that no one is even thinking about, which is the purpose of education. We're not focused on the kids. That's why I wrote the book, to try to get people to change their mindset.
Now, we had talked off air, and I had mentioned the teachers union and the power of the teachers union, and you had corrected me, probably rightly so, saying you see no bad guys here. You just see a solution, right?
Right. I think a lot of the conversation around education right now, just because it's easy for us, is pointing fingers and blame. It's the parents that the environment at home is not good. It's the teachers that are not good enough. It's the teacher union that are not flexible enough. And I believe that there are no evildoers. Everyone, I think, means well. No one is here for the money. No one is here for, to try to hurt anyone else. Everyone is trying. It's just that they're tired. That's been years over years that they've been failing, and they're just simply tired. They don't have inspiration. They don't have the passion anymore. Whether it's parents or teachers, in a lot of cases, kids don't believe in their chances anymore. Yeah. So I believe that what we're seeing in reality is that we're seeing the American dream dying in front of our eyes. It really, for me as an immigrant, what was really true about the American dream is the fact that no matter where you're from, no matter your background, you could make it. Work hard, study, you'll make it in America. And unfortunately right now, depending on where you're born, your chances are higher to go to prison than to college.
What do you mean by that?
So in some cases, statistically, you have higher chances in some, let's say, neighborhoods in Connecticut, you have higher chances of going to prison from your community. Based on your zip code, I can say you have 60% chance of going to prison and you have 40% chance of going to college. So it's really depending on where you are born, depending on the access to the public system that you have access to, which in many cases in urban communities is failing miserably. I mean, you can't get kids to know how to read. If you don't know how to read by the age of 9, by 3rd grade, your future in the education system is pretty much doomed.
Now, I had brought up to you the destruction of the family, which I think is just one of the main elements. But again, you being the very positive guy that you are, no, I mean, you're looking for solutions. Right. And we have a problem here. We have a problem with the family in America. There's no doubt about it. You feel that there is at least an approach to that, right?
Well, in my mind, education is a big problem. It touches politics and, social, economic, race issues, urban issues. Newark here, it has different issues than Jersey City, although they're, very close. Right. Brooklyn has different issues than the Bronx. We've seen in Sandy that in New Jersey, we've had many districts that were affected that simply couldn't operate. Because of Sandy, there was no electricity, the facilities were hurt. So education is a very, very broad, so there is no silver bullet. So in some communities, part of what the school needs to do is to take care of the connection with the parents. If you have a 23-year-old mom that is abusing drugs, there's no dad in the house, does that mean that kid is doomed? Can't we find a way that the education system would be that solution for that kid? Give them a mentor, give them support, give them community help, give them guidance, give that parent some way out. I mean, if you're a 22-year-old mom that have some, you have some drug issues, it's not fun, like anyway. So, I mean, and I'm not saying that we need to, like solve all the problems. Of course, it needs to be the responsibility of the parent and the student. And that's what I'm arguing in the book right now. And that's actually a very important point. When I'm telling you, hey, no one is left behind. So you as a parent think that your responsibility is like, I check in my kid to school, I'm done. That's my responsibility, because they said that no one will be left behind. When I'm telling you no one is held back, the responsibility shifts to you as a parent and a student. I'm telling you, come to my school and I'll open up a world of opportunity for you. If you don't work, if you don't apply yourself, you can't complain, you can't blame me. So the whole responsibility will shift.
Why isn't that happening now?
Well,
I mean, because you're talking about a love of learning, like in inspiring. You're talking about inspiring a child. It doesn't seem to be happening.
Well, it doesn't seem to be happening for a variety of reasons. One is, obviously, there's a lot of great teachers, but very few great instructors. You probably had experience in your life. You see a great instructor on stage, and you're like captivated. You're there. You're in it, and you can't, move your eyes. Most of our teachers are not great instructors, and they need to do the same thing over and over, year over year, repetitively, and it's a curriculum that is not inspiring. Even with No Child Left Behind, they narrow it down, so they focus on teaching to the test. So the purpose is not you being the best person you should be, it's just score high on a test, which doesn't mean anything. I could score high on a test and forget everything that I've read or learned a day later.
I've done it many times as a student. I hate to say it, yeah.
So that's the reality. So that's one problem, instruction. Another problem is the curriculum. And the way that I'm being taught. So as a student, I might be very passionate about chess, or I might be very passionate about cooking or art. But in my school, there are no programs that cover any of these. So I go into the classroom, and they try to preach to me math and reading, and I'm behind on reading. So what do? I lose interest. I go to the street. I go join a gang. I become a problem, and then I become a problem child. So then now they need to discipline me. Where in fact, if you see kids, all you need to do is just get their curiosity. It's not about me telling you or preaching to you. It's about you taking this budget that we're putting in front of you of roughly around $150,000 to $200,000 by the time between grade K to 12, make the best of it. This is our faith in you. Who thinks about it that way? No one. No one is thinking about it that way. And I think until we don't change our mindset and make schools fun for the parents, for the teachers, for the students, we'll be in the same state that we're in right now.
My guess is that a lot of teachers are thinking that way, but they're being held back. They're not being allowed to go forward with that kind of thinking and put it into action.
Teachers are as much victims as students in this system. They are fearful. They need to meet mandates. They are as much as a victim as the students, and there are a lot of great teachers out there, and I think that our first step, by the way, and I argue that in the book, the first step that we should take is to empower teachers and make them the best they can be, not measure them. What we're doing right now in New Jersey or in New York and other parts of the country, because of the waivers of No Child Left Behind, we've implemented in billions of dollars systems of measuring teachers. More control over teachers rather than more empowerment, more mandates rather than more support and resources. And for me, that is crazy.
We're going to come back. We're going to talk about solutions that you present in the book, right? Yeah. My guest, Yovel Badash, fascinating guy, wrote this wonderful book called No Child Held Back. We will be back, and we're talking with the author on community impact. Stay with us. Welcome back to Community Impact. We are talking to Yovel Badash, who has penned this book called No Child Held Back. And if you're just joining us, we were talking about some of the challenges that the educational system here in the United States is facing. And Mr. Badash has set up an argument that much of that is from the No Child Left Behind program. I'm sure there were lots of problems before that, but we'd like to talk about solutions, and you do present some solutions in this book.
So the book is built based on three fundamental questions. We first discussed the why. I think it's very important to understand why we need to change our education system. Why is it so important, and why now is the right time? Because 10 years ago, we didn't have the right technology infrastructure. We didn't have the devices. We had a lot of gaps, and there was a lot of attempts to change education with technology 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Didn't work. I think now is the time. So that's the why. Then we talk about the what, and what does No Child Held Back stand for? What do we believe in? And again, this is just our attempt to try to define something, and we hope that more people will join us and develop this conversation. But most importantly, half the book is focused on the how. And the how is really, how do you utilize technology? What technology is out there that is available right now? If you're a parent and you're in a failing school, does that mean that your kids are doomed? Or can you do something about it? You have access to the internet. In my opinion, your kids could have limitless potential, and you could open up doors of opportunity for them. It's just a question of you knowing about it. When you go to Google, if you don't know what to search for, you won't find it. The book and the how is really a guidelines of how are we going to achieve No Child Held Back reality around this country and the world.
So in other words, really using the technology that's available to all of us. Yeah.
Let me elaborate maybe on some of the elements that I talk. So for instance, we have a whole chapter about a content marketplace. So in my vision, every school around this country should have a content marketplace. You do not just want to have instruction provided to you by the teachers that you have on staff. There are endless high quality content out there. Just one example is Khan Academy. That's something that a lot of people might have heard. It's Salman Khan, amazing entrepreneur, started teaching his niece over the web. And from that, Bill Gates got to know about him, etc. He got $100 million or so. Now, through the Khan Academy website, there are millions of kids, 10 million visitors a month, are learning mathematics and other subjects just from that one website. So making that resource available in every school, making teachers and parents know about it and how to use it. That's an example. That's an example of a content marketplace in math.
It's a great idea. I mean, it's certainly something that a proactive parent could jump on,
right,
and move forward with, and it costs
zero,
not a thing.
Right. And the school's role, in my mind, is to facilitate. Because if you don't know to search for Khan Academy, if you don't know about it, how can you find it? The school's job is to make these content elements available. And there's a ton, thousands upon thousands of digital resources out there that are super high quality, that are all kind of spread out somewhere on the web. You probably won't be able to find them even if you know what you're looking for. But the school can create a content marketplace, a place where it's safe, it's approved, it's moderated. So a parent goes into the marketplace like you do any marketplace, and you say, oh, let me get some of that, let me get some reading. So if you have a kid that doesn't know how to read at the age of 12, then put them in an online program to catch up. Don't put them in the classroom to be a problem. Give them access to a reading program and let them catch up on their own. And what's happening, by the way, as an anecdote from Khan Academy, you get 5th graders that are doing 8th grade math. Why wouldn't that be the case? Why not let them run away? If we were in the traditional structure, those kids would be told, okay, hold on, Jimmy, don't move too fast, wait for everyone else. Don't show off. Why? If they can do 8th grade math, let them do it.
Mm-hmm. You said something to me off air that I thought was fascinating. You brought up an indicator for a child developing and being successful and being well educated. And it's not a lot of the things that I thought it was, but it has to do with language, and it has to do with, you used a term.
Yes, the term is called language dancing.
Yes.
Versus business talk. So that variable is how much actual adult type communication a child hears between the ages of 0 to 36 months. The more real adult conversation we have with a baby, the more connection they develop in their brain, the more synapses connection they develop. Therefore, they have higher cognitive ability. And we see high-performing kids hear about 50 million words of language dancing by the time they're 36 months, and low-performing kids hear about 10 million words. So there is a huge difference, and it doesn't cost anything to train parents to talk to their kids.
To your children. Or read to them, or talk.
Read to them, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
People don't understand the value of reading. They think, oh, it's just a fun. No, it's actually developing their brain and helping them be better.
But from 0 to 36, those are the crucial. That's the crucial time. Talk to your child. Try to talk to them like a human being.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And business talk is like, sit down, wash your hand. This is not developing them. Like giving them orders, that's not the right way. And a lot of parents, that's the way they communicate, and they don't know otherwise. Right.
I was going to ask you what business talk was. So it's more just
like, wash your hands, go to your room, be quiet, and watch TV. This doesn't help them. But if you talk to a 3-month-old baby and say, should we go to the park on Main Street or on William Street? Do you want to wear your yellow shirt? And you would say, why am I asking a 3-month-old baby? That actually helps. It actually makes them, what am I hearing? What is it? What are these colors? What are these voices? And it's not about putting them in front of the TV, because that doesn't work. You have to have a human interaction with them. They have to, so that develops their brain.
Yeah, and it costs zero. Yeah, not a darn thing. Yeah, another term that I hear you use all the time, and I want you to elaborate on it. If they would only get out of the way.
Well, one of our problems right now in the education system is that there is layers of bureaucracy upon bureaucracy and mandates upon mandates upon mandates. If you think about the plan for professional development in any school right now, it's already set for a year in advance. There is really no room for innovation. There is no room for people to think outside the box because it's such a bureaucratical system. We have the system kind of burdening itself, and in my mind, I think if we just get out of the way, just move away, just don't mandate so much, don't require, don't test so much, don't focus on the testing and the system. Just let the kids interact with material, ask a question, get them inspired, get them curious. Let the teachers do what they need to do, get out of the way, and don't be focused on the results right away. I think within a matter of a year or two, we'll see remarkable progress that would get everyone's head to spin.
We're so encumbered with all the bureaucracy, we forgot about the business of just teaching the kids.
Absolutely. Actually, we forgot about the learning. We are focused on the teaching. We're very, very focused on the teachers and the curriculum and Common Core and all that. We're not really focused on learning. We're not focused on the kids and what they're interested in and what their passions are. And if we shift our focus on that, that's what it's all about, I think.
Yeah, I know you talk to a lot of educators, you talk to a lot of parents. How do they respond to your ideas?
So far, I have to say that it's very encouraging. Every person that read the book, in my mind, I call them converted. Like they bought the vision and they're saying, this is exactly what I've been looking for. This is exactly the idea that, and they are trying to get this moving forward in their communities. It's much harder said than done to get people, but this is, I think, why, I wrote the book, because the book is an idea, and the idea needs to first be adopted by individuals. They need to read it, they need to interact with it, and the book is written as a workbook, so there's a lot of room for notes. Every chapter has questions. For instance, on personalized learning, we ask, what does personalized learning mean for you? What in your world, in your history, was personalized and what was not? So if you don't interact with it on your own, if you don't change your mind, it's going to, I can't force you. And I think that's really, I hope that more people will read the book, more people will start book clubs and book talks and so on. But the feedback we're getting is actually very encouraging.
You use the word vision. I'm not surprised, because to me you seem like a visionary, and you have used those kind of words with me when we were talking off air. But one of the things that you were stressing to me is that people need to, when you go around to schools and you talk to educators, there's almost a malaise or a cynicism, or people have thrown their hands up in the air and given up. And I think your argument is we need to believe again. We need to believe that we can do this, and it can be done.
Absolutely. I talk. We have hundreds of teachers taking courses with us on a monthly basis. I see a lot of fatigue. A lot of they're overwhelmed. They're tired. It's a grind. They go and they should go with joy. Both the teachers and the students.
Yeah.
Go to school. It's very rare to see. The great schools, you see teachers come in, parents, everyone. It's a joyful environment. A bad school, it's very sad. And we need to inspire, we need to spark that faith again in our ability to really succeed. I think, again, we're seeing the American dream dying, and we gotta inspire it again and get people to believe in themselves and their ability, that nothing will hold them back.
And it's always been part of the American dream that it would be an immigrant that injects that kind of vitality back into the country.
And I hope we do it. I think we can, and that's what I hope. People pick up the book and interact. Don't let the days and the weeks go by, because we can affect the change this year. Not next year, not in our grandkids' generation. This year, your kid, if they don't know how to read, they can know how to read. If they are behind on math, they can be ahead of the class. You got to focus on it.
Again, the name of the book is No Child Held Back. How do we get it?
You can go to Amazon and look for No Child Held Back, and you can get it there. I highly recommend getting the printed book, because it can become a personal, but there's also a Kindle version, but you can't really interact with the questions that well. You can go to nochildheldback.org and join us. And if you really want to be part of this, then write to me, write to us, and we'll love to get you support. We want to get innovation out there. We want to get people inspired. We want to prove that this works. So if you have an idea or you have a need, contact me and I'll be happy to support you.
Yovel Badash, what a pleasure
Thank
to have
you
you on this
very
program.
much. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I have a feeling we're going to be hearing a lot more about you and this idea as we go along. I really do. Again, the author, Yovel Badash, the book, No Child Held Back. It's been a fascinating conversation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
You've been watching Community Impact. We'll see you next week.
You've been watching Community Impact, a public affairs presentation exploring issues that are important to the community of West Milford and the surrounding area of Passaic County and New Jersey. Community Impact is a production of WFME Television of West Milford, New Jersey. The opinions expressed on this program are those of our guests and not necessarily the views of the staff and management of WFME and Family Television. Thank you for watching, and be sure to join us again next week at this same time for another edition of Community Impact.